All right, we are live. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to have a debate or a discussion around Bitcoin versus Shitcoin. A friend of mine bought Shitcoin. He'll be on the show today. Asked me to get on a phone call with a guy who a guy named Max, we'll call him, and he's promoting it or he's behind it or something to that nature. I didn't fully understand, so I said, you know what? I know a lot of people are much smarter than me in Bitcoin. So I got them on. We have American HODL, we have Dustin, we have JC, we have Jason Williams, and who else am I missing, guys? And then on the other side of the coin, we have Mike, who's a friend of mine, Mike Mamola, and we also have Max, who I just mentioned, and they brought another friend on, which is the Yoga Dude. I'd never met the Yoga Dude. We'll meet him momentarily. Before we get going, I'm just going to throw a little intro in, then we'll be into the live debate. Here we go. All right, we're here. Rock and roll, guys. I guess, like, just to set it up, you probably heard me, right, guys? So to set it up, Mike bought the Shitcoin because Max convinced him to buy it. They tried to convince me to buy it, and I said, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but if you can convince American HODL to buy it, you get my attention. So we'll start off with the setup.
Yeah, let's jump around. I just want to make clear, Max didn't.
I got to get my glasses on. Apparently,
convince me to buy it. Max, and actually someone else told me about it and introduced me to it. And then I had the opportunity to go through it all, check it out, meet Max, and then I convinced me to buy it. And I think, once we go through it, we'll all make that decision. But I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the intro. Hi, guys.
Hey.
All right. So what does everybody, we're going to go through intros first. I think some of these folks on the stage, they go without an introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. So American HODL, why don't you introduce yourself?
What's up? I'm American HODL. I've been hodling Bitcoin for a while. Love Bitcoin. Saying we're going to have a debate between Bitcoin and Shitcoin. It's like saying we're going to debate heavy machinery versus pooper scoopers. So should be interesting.
Go ahead, Dustin. You're up.
What's up? I'm Dustin Hodler for a long time, class like 15 or so. I'm more of a developer, so if you got any technical stuff, I love talking about that.
Absolutely. Max, you're up, buddy.
Yeah, well, I'm always happy to operate heavy machinery. So a bit of background about me. I am kind of a cliche. I started a business in my dorm room 25 years ago and ended up dropping out of Stanford and building that for the better part of 2 decades. And my second career is in crypto for the past 5 years.
Thanks, Max. JC, why don't you go?
Hey, JC Crown. I'm working full-time in the space for about 5 years. A lot of experience with different types of startups, token startups, blockchain startups, you name it. I may or may not know an anonymous person who runs a podcast that specifically addresses shitcoins and their downsides. Glad to be here to talk about this in particular, which I don't think anybody on this stage knew about, except for the ones who are on the other side today before now. Probably nobody in the audience either. We'll see.
Mike, what's up, Mike?
Yeah. Hey, Jay. Yeah, I would tend to agree with you, JC. Mike Mamola, nice to meet all of you guys. The ones who I don't know already. Attorney, investor, serial entrepreneur, crypto since 2017. And not to say the least, good friend of Jay's.
Did Max go? Yeah, I think Max did.
Max went, and yeah,
we reoriented. Actually, I think. Yeah. So Jason Williams, go ahead. You're up, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Hey, it's Jason. Just glad to be here. Hopefully, I'll learn something, and it's good to see some familiar faces. What's up, HODL? What's up, JC?
I love those headphones.
Right.
Yoga Dude, I've never met you, so tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. Well, I'm here on behalf of the Cash Project, but a little bit of background. Bitcoiner miner since 2011, Monero miner since 2014, Ethereum doggy, whatever, and then I got into Shitcoin in 2019. So been there, pretty familiar with you guys. HODL, freaking love your attitude. I feel you, and want to talk more about that. Jason, I came prepared. I own the book, bought the book. Okay. So that's it.
I'm not going
Is
to
it
hold
like a
back.
CPU miner or
Close,
GPU miner?
Can't set me up like that. I got my iPad on if that shit.
Wait.
starts.
Somebody just went technical on me. CPU miner, GPU miner, both.
Yeah,
Both.
okay.
Yeah. GPU miner.
Hey, so quick question.
Bitcoin.
Shitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I couldn't find you guys on CoinMarketCap at all.
I managed. I don't know about CoinMarketCap, but for those of us who didn't do any research before coming here, I can just kind of lay down a little bit of what Epic
Shitcoin
is, and if Yoga or anybody wants to correct me, feel free. But essentially, I didn't know that you'd been around since 2018, 2019. But looks like a Grin fork. Grin was a coin that launched based on a new, at the time, protocol called Mimblewimble, which is known for its ability to kind of save space on the chain by not having to store all of the transactions between point A and point C, let's say, so that you can have a much more compact ledger, which is still verifiable cryptographically. There were a few forks of Grin or Mimblewimble chains kind of at the time. Grin was notable because it didn't have a pre-mine, and the team was kind of just very, let's say, fair as possible, although it was criticized for having a lot of VCs that were ready to go mining from day one. The forks mostly had pre-mines. The best known fork was Beam. It had quite a large pre-mine and changed a little bit about it. It's supposed to justify it through creating better UX and tools, of course, which hasn't manifested. Another one was Mimblewimble Coin, also hasn't manifested. They had an airdrop and a launch, I remember as well. I didn't hear about Epic Coin, so it must be an even smaller one of the many forks to be on that train. But as far as I know, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't see anything particularly different about it. It had apparently a small pre-mine. I don't know what small means.
Nope. No
pre-mine at all.
And Beam is not a Grin fork. It's its own code base based on C++, and it didn't have a pre-mine either.
So Beam, I could have sworn it did.
Nope.
Okay.
HODL threw out a question. I just wanted to answer the question. Since you couldn't find us, just type
Shitcoin.
We're the only active on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, whatever. If you just type
Shitcoin.
That would be us.
Shitcoin.
Cash is the coin, not
Shitcoin.
Coin, but Epic.
Shitcoin.
Yeah,
That's
we are
pretty
the original.
shitty marketing. That's really confusing. What's your market cap?
Like 5 mil. Market change. I know, baller. It's funny. Solid.
Can I buy all the coins off you right now?
The most amazing part about
you're welcome to try.
The most amazing part about this interview is that we have so many guys against one of what is just essentially, no offense to anybody, but one of the many millions of small little startup coins down there in the lower several thousands of coin market cap. But I think in a sense it's valuable because there are a lot of people that wonder sometimes about all that stuff, and when you get somebody that's on the team, especially, you're going to hear all kinds of fancy talking points about what the coins can do and all the ways it's better than Bitcoin or whatever other coins trying to latch onto. So in that sense, it's good.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but let's just zoom back a little bit and let's talk a little bit about Grin. Right? So Grin has been a disaster for investors. Okay. And what happened with Trace? Because I thought Trace he kind of he backed this up a little bit.
So Grin,
those projects have as much to do with us as what Craig Wright and Roger Ver have to do with BTC. So we can talk about them, but they're neither here nor there. We have nothing to do with any of those projects. We did build off of Grin's code base. And of course, it's a dumpster fire because it has uncapped supply and no halving.
And you forked the code, which is it?
Yeah.
Well, the tech is relevant. The tech is relevant, but I think
the tech is relevant.
But I think, in fairness, Grin, to the extent that it, the thing is, coins, the value comes from the fundamental monetary properties. Most Bitcoiners will tell you that. So it doesn't necessarily matter what it does or what the utility is. And with Grin, you have a linear inflation that doesn't change. It's just a flat emission for all of its existence, which means that when it's new, it's a massive percentage of the supply, and 100 years from now, it'll be, if it's still around, if anybody's still running it, it'll be a very small amount of supply. Not the smartest way in hindsight, I guess, to launch a coin, especially without like a waiting period. Some coins recently did similar emission schedules, but had like a waiting period for the miners where they couldn't transact for like a few months, and that way it kept the extremes of what happened with Grin from happening again. But still, tech, it's when you're investing in Bitcoin, you're not investing in technology. You're investing in one of 21 million units that can't be changed. So when it comes to all the other things people are trying to do, they're usually trying to sell you on some kind of technology or utility.
You said you did your homework. So did you notice that we have the exact same 21 million emission curve?
No, I didn't. I did a little homework on
Okay, so we have the exact same emission curve. It's 21 million post the singularity in July of 2028. And since we started 10 years later, also no ICO, no pre-mine fair launch, we had to tweak it a little bit. The first 19 years of BTC are compressed into the first 9 years.
To Shitcoin.
There will both be 20.4 million BTC and 20.4 million
To Shitcoin.
in summer of 2028.
So it sounds like you're trying to copy some stuff from Bitcoin. Could this be a layer 2 on Bitcoin, just using Bitcoin instead of your own token?
Max, are you the one that told me that Beam didn't have a pre-mine?
If they did, I wasn't aware of it.
So I'm just looking. They didn't have a pre-mine. The reason I thought they did is because they have a
The dev
20%.
tax.
They have a massive dev tax.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's why I was thinking that in my mind. So they do have like a centralized source of funds. Do you guys or does
To Shitcoin.
have any sort of dev tax or anything that goes to the development team, especially other than something that I wouldn't be able to get as a normal miner or user?
No. So there's a minor contribution that started at 8%. It's at 6%. It goes down 1 per year, and that goes into the DAO treasury. It's not a profit center for anyone. There's no team tokens off of that. The DAO components weren't ready when we launched the protocol, so a bit of centralization, but we got the job done. And we were very mindful of the counterexample of the guys over at Bean and what not to do.
So when you say a DAO treasury, you got the job done, does that mean that the core team essentially, after the fact, issued themselves tokens under the, or not themselves, but rather issued the DAO treasury tokens?
No.
How
we created a DAO. Okay. Are you familiar with Maker over in Ethereum land?
With which one did you say?
Are you familiar with Maker?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Maker.
Okay, so if you're familiar with how ETH MKR DAI works, our version of that is BIC ECR EUSD. So 150 people, Yoga and I, and now Mike, are 3 of those, have been volunteers for years to bootstrap this protocol on a pure volunteer donation basis. And now that the next phase of our journey is beginning, the EUSD stablecoin phase, and you asked why we couldn't build it on BTC, I'm happy to unpack that in detail. If it had the performance capabilities that we needed, that would have certainly been the low friction option. But it didn't, so here we are.
Layers on Bitcoin?
Wait, can we just pause 1 second? Wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's pause 1 second. I don't know that we said this yet. Like the number one question is, why is there a need to Shitcoin when you have Bitcoin? Have we addressed that yet?
There isn't.
Have we addressed it then?
Let's talk about fungibility.
Let's talk about fun. Let's talk about
let's talk about fungibility.
Go ahead.
Let's do that. And Max, perhaps if we start with the overview, I think Jay just hit the nail on the head. Max, start with the overview of that and how that ties in.
I think hold on. I think the setup, which I didn't do a good job of, so apologies. The setup here is that Max was trying to tell me that BTC has scaling issues, and the BCT requires trust long-term due to limited of 500,000 daily transaction capacity, right? So he's basically saying that there's a scaling issue because, and Dustin, I think you just touched on this. Have you heard of layer 2, right? So he's trying to say that layer 1 has issues, and he's trying to say that there's trust dependencies, there's centralization, and then there's permissioning issues. Those are the 3 central things that he described to me.
Right.
So if you want to say something about that, Max, and then we'll let the other panelists talk and respond. Go ahead.
Sure. So in order to scale the roadmap of BTC, based on Lightning, I think El Salvador is a great example because Strike requires KYC, and it's a custodial solution. And the government of El Salvador was able to take it down for most of the day. And so what you unpack when you look into Lightning—
Wait, we got to pause. Dustin wants to jump in. If you're going to say something, we don't want to go too far. Then we have like too many things to respond to. So let's pause. Good.
There's so many shitcoiners saying Lightning is centralized, and it's such nonsense. Like, have you done any homework at all? Lightning is decentralized. That's the whole point of it.
Are you? Look, I told you coming in here that I didn't want an adversarial environment, and you're very disrespectful and rude.
All right.
So can we please stop that? Thank you.
Just don't FUD Lightning. Don't FUD Lightning.
Well, I mean,
no. Let's talk about Lightning. Are you familiar with time dilation attacks?
Let's just be, have actual facts as our foundations for the things we say. So when we say, El Salvador is using Lightning, they are. That's a fact. Now, but when we equate Strike with Lightning or the Chivo wallet with Lightning, those are just services that use Lightning. The people of El Salvador are free to use any wallet they want on the open network. So it's not fair to categorize all of Lightning by one custodial service.
But that's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that the scaling path, this is a vision of the future that we're going to have, because the business reality means you're not going to operate a Lightning channel and offer services to customers without doing that. And if you do, you're asking for tainted coins. Tainted coins are the Achilles heel of the entire setup.
So before we hold on 1 second, before we start going in a fractionalized or fractured approach, why don't we, Max, take 2 minutes just to explain what Shitcoin is, so that people can understand what it is and in their opinions what it isn't, and then they can formulate their questions based on that. I think that'll help all of us get our points across much clearer.
Thanks, Mike. Shitcoin, peer-to-peer electronic cash, designed for trustless, permissionless, anonymous operation. It's Antonopoulos textbook Bitcoin: open, public, permissionless, borderless, neutral, and censorship resistant, and decentralized. How did we achieve that? Well, you have, aside from the fact that 90% of the coins are already out, which is a problem for most people that haven't already been on the right side of that, as we have, it's just not accessible at the mining level because of the ASIC issue. So we created a multi-algo setup where 60% goes to CPU, 38% goes to GPU, and 2% to ASICs, not SHA-256. It's an experimental ASIC from Grin that runs cool, bit of a dead end, but interesting. And there's nothing special about 3. There can be any arbitrary number. And as we promised in the white paper, the goal there is to push decentralization. So by this time next year, 6 billion mobile devices will be able to help secure the network through mining, and they'll be able to run full nodes on that device because our chain file is 2 gigs. It's not 2 gigs due to low usage alone. Even at BTC scale usage, it'll still be 25 to 50 versus 350 for BTC. So there's trust and permission creeping up all over in BTC under the hood as a result of the scaling issue. If you're not running your own node, then you're trusting someone to represent the chain state faithfully, and you're depending on the permission to access that node, which may be withheld, and you don't have those issues when you're dealing directly with layer 1. And scalability is not just about disk size, it's about cost, because in April of this year, it was $62.79 on average to send an L1 transaction. And if you want to talk about Lightning, well, you need two of those.
Let's not keep talking. You're going to make some statements. People should respond to statements.
Yeah.
Jason, do you want to say something? Anybody want to jump in?
I do. A lot going unsaid here. Hearing a lot of the same, kind of cliche, like anti-Bitcoin remarks. But one of the things that a lot of these coins, and I'm grouping you in with a lot of others because it's very similar, don't say is that, you're still requiring, at least by design, a kind of distributed node system to process these transactions on a limited amount of block space. Usually, a lot of the alts will use larger blocks than Bitcoin did. But no matter how large these blocks are, and I'm not sure how many transactions that your protocol is going to fit in each block, or how often it processes blocks. It's like Grin, every 60 seconds? But I'm not sure of the capacity. But I don't recall it being very large, at least in particular. So what would allow this system? Let's say it were actually used by, as you say, millions of people, if it were actually used,
no one's going to ever use this. No one's going to ever use this, JC.
Than Grin or Bitcoin.
No one's going to ever use this, JC.
I know that, but
all right, but I mean, it's
like even the Ethereum people advertised that it was a scalable Bitcoin before CryptoKitties, before they were proven wrong. It was, if Vitalik talked about 5-cent transaction fees on Bitcoin were a joke, and that Ethereum was so much greater because it would never have such crazy fees. And this Ethereum was kind of taken, or the narrative was kind of taken for granted until people tried to use it. And then, of course, since then they've doubled the block size numerous times.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I did a mint to understand. Jason watched me do it. I did a mint on an NFT to understand the NFT process. I dropped 20 fucking G's on gas fees. No joke. 10 clicks. Boom, 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 boom. $20,000 out the window. Gas fees are off the charts.
Litecoin is the same problem. Dogecoin is the same problem. They think they're fast and cheap because nobody uses them. If they actually had any activity, first of all, the infrastructure there is very weak. It would collapse, especially Dogecoin or Litecoin. If they actually tried to use what they have 16 megabytes available every 10 minutes theoretically. At least Litecoin does. I'm not sure about Doge, but I think it's similar. That's we've seen other coins try to do that in a distributed way, like Bitcoin Cash or BSV. And when it's not incredibly centralized and kind of pre-planned, at least the Bitcoin code starts to get kind of hairy around 12 megabytes. You start getting a lot of issues when you just try to make the blocks bigger like that. Again, I'm not sure exactly how much Grin can do, but what makes you think that same kind of block-based layer one solution scales? What does Epic Cash do that innovates?
Sure.
In that sense, that's a very poor way to scale usually.
So you mentioned other projects that have tried to do something similar, but they did not do so with Mimblewimble. The ones you mentioned use the Bitcoin or the BTC code, and we use Rust-based code from Grin. So currently the configuration is a 60-second block, and it's 1 megabyte, but it scales linearly. So as you take the block time down and the block size up, you get extra capacity. That's just on that single first shard. So we're about to launch another network as kind of our version of Sandbox to play around with different configurations, and it's looking like we'll be able to do 16, probably 32 megs is even safe, and tweak it down to 15 seconds. And so right now BTC is clocking about 5.5 per second. Theoretical is more like 7, but usually most of the time that I look is in the 5s. And so Shitcoin can do 17 right now with the 1 megabyte 60 seconds. And then those either two variables or both can tweak it up. So Visa does, I think last time I checked, it was like 108 million a day or something like that. And if we can do 16 megs by 15 seconds, that's approximately the same order of magnitude.
I mean, that's huge.
It sounds like
Dustin. Yeah.
It sounds like
you've
taken Grin, you've cloned it, and you've changed some constants. That just sounds stupid and easy. I think I can do that in 24 hours.
Dustin, can I just
make my own tomorrow?
Go ahead, Yoga Boy. Go ahead.
Yoga Boy.
Isn't that your name?
No.
It's Yoga Dude. Sorry,
yeah, Yoga Dude. No, that's all good, man.
I downgraded you to boy.
All good. So guys, look. I hear all of that. And I'm a marketing guy, okay? And my background is I'm a nerd, okay? I'm a computer nerd. I got into Bitcoin, and it's funny, some of the stuff that I'm hearing and some of the stuff that we're kind of having to defend against is some of the stuff that I had to defend Bitcoin against, because back in 2011, there were guys from SETI that were basically saying, well, it's really responsible. Instead of searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, you guys are burning cycles, mining this garbage, and we're like hopped up on Gibson, going, holy shit, we're mining this virtual, like the thing of tomorrow. Okay. And then we're like looking for use cases, right? Like I bought, alpaca socks for 8 Bitcoin. Okay. I was tipping people, on Bitcoin Talk, like 1 Bitcoin for a good joke, and I was getting tipped back. Okay. And we were pretty damn open-minded. Okay. I look at you guys, and you guys are the OGs of today, and
so you're going ad hominem now? Are you making a point? I'm sorry.
No, man, no. I'm just saying where I'm coming from. I was listening to all of you guys, and I'm just observing.
How does this relate to Shitcoin? We were all there in the early days of Bitcoin.
Right.
How does that relate? What you just said?
Clearly.
Nobody's ever going to use Shitcoin. I'm talking to the 3 people in the world who give a shit about it. It has a $5 million.
No, you're not.
Hold on,
Listen,
Max,
stop. There's 101 countries that are mining this, 4,000 nodes. So if you can't be disrespectful, please excuse yourself.
You're an extremely centralized project. You know that. I know that. We all know that. The
So
reason
the
you're
purpose-
racist in this
more
because
about that.
You know, hold on one second, guys.
Ad
So
hominem
the
and
purpose of
fallacies,
this,
I mean, come on, guys.
Wow.
Let's get a little
Yoga,
more
hold on.
grown up.
I
Calm
want you
down,
guys.
Yoga.
Everybody,
Calm down,
everybody's
Yoga
got to
boy.
mute. Everybody's got
God,
to mute.
geez,
Come
you
on.
guys can't take a little criticism, can you?
Time out, guys. I think everybody here is for we can all take criticism. We're all here for fun, but we're all here to learn. Like when I learned
not
about
here to
Epic,
learn.
and
I'm here to make fun of you
I don't know about Epic, right? I know a lot less about a lot of crypto than a lot of you guys. So I called Jay
Mike,
to
how much
say,
money do you
Jay.
have in Shitcoin?
So I called Jay.
How
Hold
much
on a
money do you have
second,
in Epic,
Otto.
dude?
So I called Jay and
You
said,
buy
Jay,
it?
help
Like,
me
what exchange
understand
did you
this.
buy it on? What exchange did you even
What-
buy it on?
Hodl,
Where is it
Hodl,
even?
hold
We'll
on.
answer all of
Where
it.
is
Hold
it?
on, Hodl.
So we hodl.
You'll have
Hold
your
on.
turn to dive in.
So I said, Jay, listen to some of this, help me understand. And as we spoke to Max, he said, let me get some other guys on who can help him understand. And so here we are for the call. So let's do that. So Yoga, I didn't want to cut you off, but the same way, I mean, open-mindedness is what's going to get us there. I want to hear all of the considerations you have. I want to hear how you're punching holes in it. I'm as curious as everyone else, but let's go through it to understand. Understand that when you're talking to these guys are coming from where you are. It's not Bitcoin or Epic. And Max and
Yes, it is.
Yoga talk about that.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
is.
no, it's not. Just
Bitcoin
hang
versus-
tight,
it's
Hodl.
Big-
Listen
Mike,
for a
it's
few
Bitcoin
and you'll
versus
learn.
the world, dog.
mean,
Bitcoin versus
One sec,
everybody.
one sec.
Look
Mike,
at
Thank
Bitcoin
you. I'm a
everybody.
Bitcoiner, Hodl.
Hold
That's
on,
even
hold
into
on,
I don't
this.
hold
care.
on. Mike,
You're a
Mike,
Shitcoiner,
Mike.
dog.
It's Bitcoin or
It's a shitcoin.
because at the end of the day, what they're trying to solve for is already solved for within Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself
You
solves
may
for
be
this,
right,
the
unless-
scalability.
But-
no.
but it's
I
not-
would
Max,
actually
Max,
think
It's an
explain.
incremental value, guys.
To me,
it's an
it is-
incremental value.
to me, it isn't Bitcoin or Epic, because if Bitcoin didn't exist and somebody showed me Epic, I would think it was a bad idea.
Hey, JC, can I ask you a question? And Max, I'm really asking this in the purest way. If in fact you have developed something novel, wouldn't we just use it as a layer 2 solution on top of Bitcoin? Like I don't know why.
That's what I was trying to say.
There isn't anything novel here that
Because-
I can see yet.
It's
not.
real hard to do.
Time out. Time out. I'd like to hear a logical response to that, because I believe that that's what Bitcoin's got. So much scale. It's so far out in front. If you have developed something interesting, it would be immediately placed as a layer 2 solution on Bitcoin, and you would never get scale. That's my point.
Because the scale's already here and it would just adopt what you're doing and gone, right?
And
Actually, no,
Many
because
stumble
because
into
I was at the
Other than the three
unconfiscatable
of you.
conference.
Other than the three of you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Max.
Well, you may not see the value, but that does not mean that others don't. And the fact of the matter is, of the 221 million people as of the last census who are into crypto, half of whom came this year, most of those, BTC is too expensive and they can't mine it. They missed the boat. So you may not like it, but that doesn't mean that others
Unified?
don't.
Max, is there a way
What are
for
we- are we
Jason's
doing
question?
unified?
Is there you were about to say something about unconfiscatability and things with Jason's
No, I
question?
don't
'Cause
want
I'm
him
curious
to
about
use-
Jason's
I don't want him
question.
to
Why
use
did you say it's
words
too
like that.
Why is it too expensive? I'm so confused.
These are really
$62
Basic
to
unit
sell.
bias, and he's using it to sell his coin because nobody buys his coin. Because
Max, so you said, are you got? Hold on. Let me be very clear. You're based off of the block. You're based off of the Bitcoin code, right? Are you not?
No,
20,
no,
21
we're
mil-
not.
Okay,
No.
21 million is
They
the most
copied
you'll
Grin's
ever make.
based off of Grin.
I want to be clear about this. Is it 21 million coins that'll ever be created?
Yes.
But you
that
can't-
that is
you
correct.
can't-
Okay, so if
Yeah,
you
but- yeah,
if
but
you
Jay, real
happen
quick.
to get if you happen to get to $1 trillion market cap someday, are you going to like add more shares to make the price lower, or are you going to have the same problem with the next
there's-
Epic that says
what-
it's too expensive?
Shitcoin.
100 million divisibility.
So then why are you
Same.
saying
Like
Bitcoin's
Bitcoin.
too expensive? It's the same exact.
I'm not
thing.
saying it's too expensive. I said
You
the
literally just-
transaction
did he just
fees
say
are
that?
too
I'm sorry.
expensive. The transaction fees are too expensive.
He
5
said-
years
he
ago,
said
the
that-
narrative was about we're going to use this
Bitcoin
for
was-
coffee. There's two
Okay.
problems with that. Number one, the
You can
fees,
down
and number
plus
two,
government.
Gresham's law. You're not going to spend an asset that has number go up technology. That's an unsolved issue.
I
So
spent
your
and
number
anyway,
won't go
what-
up, and then that's why you'll spend it. Like what?
But
I
I
don't
spend-
understand. Like you want the number to go up, right? Do you guys want your price to go up too? You do, right?
It goes up.
So-
It-
there's a lot of low hanging fruit here that we could get to that I feel like kind of just cuts all because we're
Grind's
way
price
off into the
went
what if
down.
this
It's
thing
only down,
is
and that's
equivalent.
exactly.
I have a simple thesis when I invest, and it's really simple, right? Is it different? Is it scaling, or can it scale? And if it does, is it defensible? So walk me through that Shitcoin. Tell me how it's different. Then tell me how it's going to scale because it's not scaled yet. And then tell me once it's there, to Jason's point, why we can't just do the same thing on layer 2 for Bitcoin.
I still think there's a lot more to it than that, Jay, because if it's not decentralized, then it's not equivalent anyway.
Totally get that. But let's go to that. We'll go to this first. We'll go to that.
Wait, we haven't done the research, and you're operating on a bunch of missing ideas that aren't even accurate.
You have a $5 million market cap.
Yeah, and we started 2 years ago with no ICO, no pre-mine, and purely word of mouth. So this is not a fair fight. This is like when a 12-year-old plays tennis against a 16-year-old.
No, stop that. That's
so
I'm asking you how it's very simple.
Sure, I'm happy to answer that.
Misperception.
How is it different? Go there first, and then we'll do the other. How is it different?
Okay, let's look at BTC in 2028, and let's look at Epic in 2028. One has 20.4 million. The other has 20.4 million. One can be mined by on the order of tens of thousands of people through giant mining operations. The other can be mined on every device out there. So one has network effects at the front end that may enable more users to come on. We don't know, certainly an uphill battle. But our story is mainly about the stablecoin that we're building around this protocol. And BTC exists. It's great for what it is. It exists for a different purpose. So,
which is the differentiator. So tell me, hold on. A lot of work. Hold on, a lot of noise there. A lot of noise. I need 10 words or less. What's your high concept pitch on differentiation?
Nobody's answered my question.
Nobody has. They can't.
That's the other D, defensibility. Like we could just
I actually took some notes. What I heard Max say is it's 20.4 million supply. They have a mix of mining algorithms and they're building a stable coin. That's what I heard.
So what
Did I get that right, Max?
Also is, this idea that because you have, let's say, a more ACE-resistant coin, and I understand that the DAO is supposed to vote the mix there, so you're supposed to keep it kind of like keep the ASICs running, assuming that they valued it enough. FPGAs are getting pretty programmable or are pretty programmable and pretty easy to kind of change around as well. I'm sure that's what people would probably do with a coin like this, if I'm not mistaken. But that said,
you're mistaken.
Yeah.
By magnitude.
But you want to speak to that, Yoga?
That said, though, I mean, it's not. It's not realistic to think that people are really gonna. If there's real value that my phone can produce, then there's real value in making a very efficient FPGA farm that's flexible enough to follow whatever you're doing. And the votes, by the way, are another attack vector. We'd have to deep dive into how the DAO is done, but we know that at least for the first 2 years, it's mostly insiders at this point. It's pretty small, right? So you guys are going to have a massive amount of control over who can mine it. Even
you want to? No, we promised it in the white paper. You want to address that, Yoga?
Yeah, we're getting completely off. Gentlemen here had some questions that went unanswered. So the short of it, guys, look, okay,
Shitcoin,
right? Okay, why is it different? Okay, yes, we copied the Grin fork. Okay, we started with that. Dustin, to your point. Okay, differentiation points. We have a capped emission at 21 mil. Okay, not bloody original. Absolutely, we went with we copied the leader.
Copy pasta. Okay? Your right click team.
And when you combine it with
logic flaws.
It's inauditable.
I love listening to your guys'
podcast. It is auditable.
And I dig your format.
No, it's not. It's inauditable.
Yeah. Okay. So the big thing is, we went with 3 mining algos. Okay. So why did we do that? Okay, we made it more accessible for people to mine, just like Bitcoin was mineable by the general public. As you guys
Grin did that first, right?
Yoga, to be clear.
No. ASIC.
Yoga, one sec. You started off a minute ago and says, I'm going to be clear about the differentiation, and then there was a lot of words. Just be very clear in a sentence why it's different and necessary.
It's light. It's more accessible. Light blockchain, more accessible. In other words, more mineable by people today. And has more potential growth than Bitcoin.
All of those things are true because no one uses it, and it's only worth $5 million.
Bitcoin was worth a hell of a lot more when it started. I remember I was there.
Hell of a lot.
These are
less.
These are the kinds of things that are often said by like every other small coin that wishes it had a shot. It's not
including
realistic to
Bitcoin
say.
in the beginning. Yes,
It's not realistic to say because Bitcoin was
Hey,
small. Our
JC.
small thing is also.
JC,
The supply of BTC is infinite.
wait.
The market is different now. People are very aware.
It's 21
This is
million.
something that I have to tell a friend of mine who really has like.
Wait,
Let's
hold
unpack
on, JC. Hold on a second. Max, why are you saying the supply of Bitcoin is infinite?
Because
Because as long as people are willing to accept something other than an on-chain coin as good enough for their purposes, every time Robinhood
What do you
buys a
mean by that?
BTC and
Just
lends
very
it
clear
out,
for the audience.
there's
What do
two.
you-
Okay,
He's talking about
fractional
paper
reserve.
He's talking about
Fractional
paper
reserve,
Bitcoin.
rehypothecation, and the derivatives complex on GBTC.
And there's no Max. There's
exact
no
same thing with your
differentiation between that and your project. Literally none.
Nothing. It's just a silly way to go because if you had scale, we would do the same thing with your token.
Exactly.
The-
But you're a
the-
pooper scooper, and we're a fucking piece of heavy machinery.
Hey JC, can you explain to everyone what happened with comp? Because this is because I think it's very important because comp is way out ahead of these guys. It's way bigger. But what happened with comp today?
Well, I mean, it's a very different thing. If you want
it
to
is a different thing.
speak in generally, we can say that they had a bug in the way that the way the liquidity pools went. It's such a different thing. So comp is distributed through kind of like rewards for staking, and there was somebody found a way where under certain conditions you could essentially mint more comp for yourself unfairly or without having to put a bunch of money up, and so it's been taken advantage of in that sense and milked kind of for extra tokens. But there are many better examples than comp that are more relevant than this about the issues. I mean, even Grin itself was 51% attacked for a time because the hash was so low. But I mean, these are problems that somebody could say, well, if we ever got bigger, it could be solved or whatever. But I mean, there are so many other fundamental issues that won't be solved, like the way the DAO works, how centralized it must be now after 2 years of essentially no eyeballs on it, except for the ones who are in it now. They're going to have complete control over who gets to mine on what kind of hardware. That's not going to be solved. Obviously, the development must be very centralized because there isn't much of a community. I mean, you gave some numbers, 4,000 nodes. We don't know. A lot of times, especially with newer projects, people spin up like DigitalOcean, a bunch of nodes. It's one of the things you almost have to do if you want your project.
No.
Sorry, I geomapped that. So I mean, keep going. Sorry, it's good. A lot of good conjecture, but keep going.
If you want your project and it's new to look more, if you want it, it's chicken and egg. You want people to see your thing. You want to think it's good. So a lot of guys will load up, multiple servers. Plus, you probably need them for yourself. They're all on cloud, and I bet if we did an analysis of where these nodes are hosted, we'd probably find a lot of cloud addresses too.
By the way, quickly, just
No, actually, you wouldn't.
You guys weren't pre-mined. You were quote unquote fair launch, but nobody knows who the fuck you are. I looked at your social media presence. It's dog shit. You know what I mean? It's like you have like 1,000 people on Twitter. So how far and wide was your launch announcement? Nobody knew about it. So you guys were all mining it at the time of launch.
No, we had a test net up for 5 months. We had a test net up for 5 months. We screamed it from the rooftops.
Yeah, but nobody could hear you.
Yeah. Well, that's because your minds are closed. Listen to yourself.
No, I mean, you have no
Nice,
social media
nice,
presence. Your marketing
nice.
is shit.
Come on,
you guys are, you're very small.
HODL,
You're tiny.
HODL's trying to
I
be
could
like the
crush
Howard
you with
Stern
my
of
foot
Bitcoin.
right now. Like I could buy your
so
entire
let him
coin.
have his moment.
Buy the whole thing.
HODL, I think a lot of people here could, but that's not the issue. The issue here is to try to listen, like Jason said when we started, here to hopefully learn something.
I am
and if we
listening.
do, great, and if we
more
don't,
than you're
great.
hearing. I didn't get scammed by these guys. You did, bro. Okay.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't, HODL, and I hope that we can all walk away, if nothing else, a little more educated on something that we didn't know about. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, Yogi. You were about to say something.
I haven't learned a fucking thing. By the way, on your website, it says you guys are a unit of account. Can you name one place where you're a unit of account and then direct me towards it?
I get my haircut for
Shitcoin.
I get other things for
What?
use cases.
Come
kids.
on, bro.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
people
yes.
use it as money. People use it
People
as money.
as
That's
money.
the use
kind
case.
of a funny thing. Okay, and you know what's funny too? I remember, I do
come on,
remember
bro.
guys like you
Come
that came
on,
online later, okay, and kind of became the face of Bitcoin. But it was the use cases. You guys talk about awesome.
You're not getting your hair cut with
Shitcoin.
Come on, bro.
Hell yeah, I am.
Yes.
Did you tell them to set it up so you could specifically
it's
do
a medium
that?
of exchange.
Supercuts. You guys missed the announcement.
It doesn't matter where it's used. The fact is that it is.
Are you serious?
No, actually, it's a little.
It is used as money.
But it doesn't matter.
But you say that to an audience of 100 people listening, and they're like, "Oh, I guess people are doing this." That's not a thing. It's a one-off with a guy you told to do.
You know
it.
what's
Come on.
funny about
Yeah,
that
it's
is
very
when
much even true.
Bitcoin started.
Yeah, but correct me if
And
I'm
you guys
wrong,
can-
and
you
I
guys
don't
can
know
talk
because
over me.
I was in
Sorry, go
then.
ahead.
But isn't this what was happening back in 2009, 2010?
No,
Oh,
you
the
weren't
yoga
around.
didn't you buy
It's not-
his
Mike,
Satoshi, hold on.
Come on. Come on.
Hey guys, can I tell you something? Can I tell you
So they
something
don't
real quick?
know.
When you say stuff like this, like, oh, this is what was happening early in Bitcoin. It's like you being a really shitty singer and saying like, yeah, but Mariah Carey didn't make it until she was 20.
Hey,
You're
man,
not Mariah Carey, bro.
Google,
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, yoga.
Google
Also, it's a
fallacies,
very
man.
different
Just
environment.
good
So
to start.
Satoshi
Silly thing to say.
Satoshi did not copy an existing coin and change a couple constants. Satoshi created Bitcoin from
invented it.
scratch. Not comparable at all.
But the bigger difference is that
We're
there's
not
an
trying to
actual
compare
market
ourselves.
here.
Guys,
There's an actual
we're not
market.
trying
There's
to
an
compare
infrastructure of
ourselves
exchanges.
to
So
Satoshi.
when we're developing a project today, and that's one of the things that I've unfortunately done a lot in my past is consult on new blockchain startups and projects. And when you're doing a new project today, it's not enough to just exist and be small. You have to compete in this market. You don't get to pretend like you don't exist in the market today. When Bitcoin was out, it was the biggest one of its kind. There was no bigger Bitcoin. There was no massive dominating market of decentralized currencies. And then
True.
Bitcoin was this little new thing saying, well, one day everything else was small too. No, you have to exist in the market that exists. And so you
True.
don't just get to say, what about 2009? Because it's not 2009 anymore. You are like a tiny little thing in a massive market now. Bitcoin was never that in terms of cryptocurrency.
Wait, what do you mean? Bitcoin was never that.
Bitcoin was never
was a pimple in the ass of the computer community.
No, yoga. What he's trying to say, if correct me if I'm wrong, JC, is that when Bitcoin started, it wasn't a $2 trillion overall market with thousands of other coins.
Still
It
isn't.
was one coin growing,
always
others
the biggest.
joined, and they got to the dominance over time.
What do you mean
It's
still
always- it's
isn't?
always been the
What do you mean
most
still
dominant. There was
isn't?
never-
It is a $2 trillion overall market, the crypto market.
There was never a more dominant Bitcoin. There was never, Bitcoin didn't come in as a tiny little baby in a $1 trillion market with people trading all kinds of shit and whatever.
We
And
didn't
certainly
come
like
here.
Hawk
Unlike
pointed
you
out.
guys, we didn't come here to shit on another project. Okay, so we came with full respect.
You came
and
here to
understanding.
market. You came here to market.
No, we didn't come here to market,
No,
and
no,
I
you
resent
did,
being
because
pulled
nobody
into
knows
this
about your
blind
fucking
side
Bitcoin.
because I
That's
said I didn't
Nobody's
want to
ever
get
heard your
into
shit.
this kind of
If you
debate.
clarify that.
Nobody's ever heard your
Max.
shit.
No,
ever.
this is
No one
disrespectful
knows who the
and
fuck you are. You're riding on all
unacceptable.
of our clout. You're
Max,
riding on Jason's clout, my clout,
if
Jay's clout,
HODL
Jesse's clout.
is that's
You're
just
riding
the
on
way
the back
he
of
is,
it.
man. Just watch a couple of his videos. That's all he's got, man. He's like the Howard Stern.
Maybe there's something
wannabe.
positive here.
Well, let's
Right.
talk
Right.
about fungibility.
Oh,
Let's talk
sorry. I
about
wouldn't like
fungibility.
him, but
And
Yoga
it's
girl ad hominem
entertaining.
me. Yoga girl ad hominem me. That's not
see,
okay.
now it's a girl, so it's hot, man. It's cool.
Yo,
so okay, so I want to
Come
keep
on,
going.
guys.
So the cool thing
Go ahead,
about
Dustin.
Grin,
I don't like them.
the cool.
Hold on.
Mike's just
I got to mute you for a sec. Hold on. Let Dustin talk. I want to hear Dustin. Go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. The cool thing about Grin is they use zero knowledge proofs and they delete the non-UTXO set to compress it, right? That's really cool. And that can be done on a layer 2 of Bitcoin just fine. I think Blockstream's actually working on this today. I think it will happen, and people that want to use that will use it. The idea you need to attach a token to it, all that does is give you, the controller of the token, the top of the cantilever access. And I thought there's some
Shitcoin.
donation stuff helping people in Africa, I think. That's the kind of thing you can do if you control the access to the funds. You start with a thing that sounds really good, but in the long run, the goal is control the money. So it sounds to me like the real value of you guys copying Grin is that you get to control the money supply.
It's the only reason to launch a shitcoin. It's the only reason.
No, it's actually not. I was at the Unconfiscatable conference in mid-2019, and everybody was asking about Mimblewimble and fungibility and scalability, and the answer was, we're just simply not going to do that. Please don't talk about this anymore. So that was when we gained the conviction that this needed to happen. So, closed-mindedness is not going to serve our cause well, and we're not really plugged into the whole, BTC has all the answers stuff. So, we're not here to pick a fight or anything.
I'm not picking a fight, I'm just using your words. You seem really closed-minded to the idea of this being a layer 2 on Bitcoin. Why?
Very close.
But everything's a layer 2 on everything as long as it connects.
No.
The question is why are people going to trade their fungible
Shitcoin.
in that case XMR or anything like it for BTC that can become tainted?
Are you open-minded to hearing about why this might be a good idea on layer 2?
Absolutely.
Great. I mean, like, it'd be a great idea to open it layer 2. Why not use the actual stable currency, Bitcoin, to operate this fundamental zero knowledge proof thing? Wouldn't that just make perfect sense? I mean, why would I want to use some shitcoin when I could use the best money in the world?
Because it's not the best money in the world because of fractional reserve and rehypothecation and derivatives on GBTC. The supply is effectively infinite.
Any Shitcoin can be rehypothecated.
Sure. And there's 10 years of accumulation of that in BTC that we're going to fight against and protect against it as best we can. And meanwhile, we're on to the next anyway.
That goal. I think you should join the fight of stopping rehypothecation.
Max,
I think that's the solution right there.
This is where we get into like the land of dishonesty that I really hate to see from some of these promoters. And I don't want you to put yourself in that camp, but I keep seeing it from you. You know, when you say, oh my God, BTC, the problem with it is it can be rehypothecated because of stuff like GBTC. If they made
Shitcoin
Cash tomorrow, like, first of all, you'd love that and you'd brag about how great Epic Cash is. Second of all, though, there's nothing that stops that from happening. So that's not something that
Shitcoin
is solved.
It's not solved, but it's a problem that is not priced into BTC. And BTC is 100,000 times the price of this. So the question is not BTC or Shitcoin, whether it might make a smart diversification for somebody against these issues, because scalability and fungibility problems are not going away. They're only getting worse. There's creeping trust and permissions.
If you become a large player in a market, that happens to you. The world happens to you when you get big. People have, a lot of guys say, oh, Bitcoiners, what are you going to do when the banks are buying Bitcoin and et cetera? I mean, like, if you ever thought that Bitcoin was going to be global money, then you should have thought that the global institutions will interact with that asset.
By the way,
it's neither here nor there. The problem is that BTC doesn't have fungibility, and that means that Chainalysis and the guys that own Elliptic over at MasterCard can decide that your money is no longer valid. That can't happen with Epic.
No, I'm happy to buy anybody's Bitcoin that they think is worth less.
Sure.
Yeah, your tainted Bitcoin thesis is ridiculous.
At a discount, I'll buy 1,000% of all the Bitcoin you bring to me at a discount. If you believe it's fungible, I'm happy to do that for you.
By the way, using the word fungibility in place of the word privacy kind of shows me you don't understand either. Also, the rehypothecation thing with Bitcoin, it is factored in because the price of Bitcoin is much lower than it should be at the moment. And the market has factored in the paper Bitcoin.
By definition, the market, the price that we have today is the culmination of everything that's happening. It's the impact of people that have too much Bitcoin. It's the impact of people who think maybe the fees are too expensive or it's too complicated to figure out. It's the impact of GBTC. It's the impact of maybe some of these exchanges that aren't backing what they say they are. Like I forget the one now in Canada that obviously didn't have anything really there. And there are probably many more that don't have the Bitcoin they say they do. That is all part of the market price today. That's what a market does, especially a free market like Bitcoin. Nobody can control such a diverse thing.
Hey, so Max, when I asked you on the call that we had a week ago, how is it different? How can it scale? And how is it defensible? Your response to me was, and I wrote it down, Bitcoin has a lack of scalability on layer 1, and that leads to centralization, trust dependency, and permissioning. Those are your exact words. I wrote it down as you said it. Why don't you explain what you mean by that as simply and concisely as possible, and then we can go around the room with people to see what they have to say.
All right. So if someone transacts on Lightning, they cannot trace it on a block explorer like they can on L1. So you've got a degradation in transparency there. I didn't mention that one, but
also
the number of
privacy, right? Increase in privacy
and fungibility. By the
Talk
way.
about trade-offs, man. Talk about trade-offs. Don't just say
absolutely. There's $1 trillion of market cap there at stake. So by all means.
So get this right. You said Lightning degrades fungibility. Is that what you said? Try to take notes here.
You were just talking about Monero and how it was great because it was non-fungible or more fungible, and yet now you're criticizing Lightning because you can't track it. I don't get the
because you can't. Okay, people are using the Monero chain on L1 and having the same security guarantees, same availability, same assurance levels, and you don't have that on Lightning. So time dilation attacks, uncooperative channel closing. There's lots of stuff like that. Transacting on Lightning is not the same as transacting on L1.
How a time dilation attack works?
Yeah, walk us through it.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I don't mind. I'm not trying to dodge it, but I don't mind to tell you. because I'll tell you how the same similar kinds of attacks would work on
Shitcoin.
as well. You're essentially tricking the entire blockchain or node on the blockchain. You're trying to isolate him and create work for just that one to trick him into following your version of the chain. That'd be very easy to do on a chain like
Shitcoin.
Much easier.
How? How would it be easier?
Because there's not that much hash. So you'd be able to do it with.
But you need all three algorithms. And there's lots of nodes in 100 countries.
You could rent them on Nice Hash for like.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you
not
can't.
that big.
They're not on Nice Hash, and you need all three.
Shitcoin now. It'd be very
Nice
hard.
Hash is all
Like,
three.
there's a reason this hasn't been done. You know, when we look at Ethereum, for example, and we see some very sophisticated hacks done, sometimes just to extract a few $1 million, very sophisticated attacks. There are a lot of people out there who will execute these attacks if they are feasible. They're not just having, they're not just going easy on Bitcoin. And yet, nobody has done this. Lightning has never suffered. This has been running for over, thousands of Bitcoin for years now, and nobody's done it. Why? Because these theoretical attacks are not practical. It would require essentially massive amounts of hash and being able to kind of isolate a target in such a way that you could somehow, or even a number of targets in such a way that you could somehow clog the entire chain for potentially up to 2 weeks or more. It's a very, very impractical attack, especially now that we've, by the way, that's why we're implementing anchored channels now, so that you can change your fees after the fact, which addresses some of the issues that were brought up, which there were some legitimate criticisms there, but they weren't actual concerns. There were things which could be addressed and which weren't really exploitable.
There's no one harder.
The market is concerned because there's 100x.
Sorry, what did you say,
BTC
Dustin? 1 sec, Max. One sec, buddy.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I think there's no one harder on Bitcoin than Bitcoiners. And I think what happens is Bitcoiners are looking at vulnerabilities and strengthening them. People grab buzzwords out of that conversation and think it's actually FUD on Bitcoin. It's not. It's Bitcoin getting stronger.
Yeah.
All right, well, there's 500,000 transactions a day capacity.
Layer one.
And a certain number of them need to be used for Lightning channel opening and closing. And if people are going to transact on Lightning, they need to accept that they can't trace their transactions on a block explorer. They need to accept that they have to trust the people that they're cooperating with in this. They need permission to access the channel in the first place.
Well, so this was your trust dependency argument that you gave, and I just want to repeat what I wrote it down when you said it. You said not your keys, not your coins. It sounds familiar, right?
Well, that's a different thing.
Right, and then you said counterparty.
But I mean,
risk.
if you're putting your BTC in a Lightning channel, that's different than having it freely available for you to spend unencumbered.
I'm not.
You said there's counterparty risk due to regulations and the current lack of peer-to-peer transaction capabilities.
Yes.
It's worth diving into this. I mean, Lightning, the way Lightning works is when you put your funds in a channel, you can take it out at any time, either on-chain or over Lightning. Either side can. It's really cool.
Dustin, he also said that you need permission from a node within the network and then trust that node to represent the blockchain to you faithfully. Running your own node, I said, would that eliminate that problem? And he said, yes, it would. Is that a problem, though?
Completely. Use your own node, use a Neutrino light node. Either of these things protect you completely. Throw in a watchtower and you're like 110% secure.
When we're talking about the actual blockchain data, you bragged about how it would be less than 50 gigs if it were, if it had been around as long as Bitcoin, but that's not the real issue when it comes to running on a mobile wallet. You're talking about 128 megabyte capacity every minute. That's a massive amount of verification, not just the bandwidth itself, but the computation to do the verification. That's a lot. That's a lot of math. That's a lot of compute for a cell phone. And that still doesn't solve the scaling problem. It just raises the ceiling a little more. You're still not going to get like Fortnite level access on everybody's phone. It's fundamentally a bad idea to try to scale something over thousands of mobile phones across the world every 15 seconds, 32 megabytes at a time.
But it doesn't have to be. You don't need to have
a problem with a system like that. That would be like nobody would ever design a system like that on purpose.
But you don't need to. The capability is there. There will be more full nodes on this network due to the lower barriers to entry than people that need to have a heavier investment to run a node.
That's not realistic at scale. So wait, but you're saying you would need a heavier investment, so you wouldn't be able to run this. You're admitting that because you wouldn't really be able to run this on a cell phone, but you're admitting
you can run it on a cell phone. Yes, you can.
Not a full node that's processing 128 megabytes of data and verifying all those transactions every 15 seconds. I doubt that you'd even get those blocks to every phone in 15 seconds. And I mean, you're inevitably going to have lots of disagreements about the state of the chain. I mean, we'd have to dig into how it works for this, but I mean, like on its face, it's very impractical.
Yeah, let's dig into how it works, because you don't need the full chain. It works differently than BTC does. And Monero already runs on mobiles for certain parts of it anyway. So it's not as outlandish as it seems. And the goal anyway is to decentralize the network further. So right now, decentralization means that anything north of a crappy old laptop can play, but tablets and phones are out. So we want to bring them in. This is the way.
Did you say you don't need a full node to run this? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that users that have the option of running a full node on mobile, some of them may elect to. That's certainly not required to transact, but the option is there.
Have you heard of Neutrino filters on Bitcoin? They allow exactly this. So there are some Lightning wallets that run on apps on your phone, and they use Neutrino filters to have the equivalent of running a full node without having to on your phone. It's pretty cool.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, and you're able to run a full Lightning node with a light Bitcoin node like Neutrino on your phone to have self-sovereign access to your funds, over a mobile phone. I do it. I've got 2 Lightning nodes on my phone. It runs very, very easily without using much battery power. And the best thing, of course, the difference between how Lightning works and how most of these I'm going to be faster than Bitcoin blockchains work is that blockchains, again, are a really bad way to try to scale a system like this. Nobody would, give all the smartest engineers in the world the mandate to create some kind of digital asset transfer globally on people's cell phones. They're not going to design something that looks anything like a blockchain. That would be really, really. I don't think it would work. That's just too much. We're not thinking about that enough at scale. It's ridiculous to think that would be a scalable system. But what does work is what Lightning is doing with payment channels. It's essentially the only thing that's even remotely approached solving what people like to call sharding, in a sense. You have everybody running their own independent ledgers with their peers that is verifiable on the bigger ledger, which is the Bitcoin network, but without having to clog it up with all your transactions. So you've actually got a real peer-to-peer scaling solution that Chivo right now is advertising all of the, granted they are a government wallet that is centralized, but they are interacting with the outside network. They're still, when you go to McDonald's in El Salvador, you're not paying Chivo to Chivo. You're paying Chivo to McDonald's Lightning QR code. I believe they're using OpenNode, but it still goes through the Lightning network. And when you go to Starbucks, you're using, again, Chivo to Lightning network. So Chivo is doing, according to them, many thousands of transactions a second at times. And that is happening on the Lightning network, granted from Chivo wallet out into the Lightning network. And no matter how much Chivo uses of that network, whether they use 10,000 transactions a second, whatever they want to use, it's a lot. It wouldn't affect like me and Dustin. We could transact to each other as if nobody else in the world were using the Lightning network at all.
But it affects you if you don't have the documents, the identity documents needed to get an account with that company.
We don't
know
that's
apples to
a great
apples.
point. So Max, down in El Salvador, you're allowed to use your own Lightning app to send to someone else's Lightning app without ever touching Chivo's app at all. You can do it totally self-solved. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, anybody who has a Lightning wallet, the guys that I know that are in El Salvador right now checking it out, they're not using Chivo. They're using their normal Lightning wallets on their mobile phones, and they're paying at McDonald's, they're paying at Starbucks. They're not interacting with Chivo. It's a very misleading and dishonest thing that I hear a lot of people saying when they, and I don't know if they do it on purpose, if they know they're lying to try to talk down on Bitcoin, or if they're just ignorant, because I hear so many people saying the same thing. Maybe they just kind of hear everybody say it and go with it.
Echo chamber.
But I mean, you don't have to use any centralized service to convert to do commerce in El Salvador, and you shouldn't.
And yet, most people do.
And I actually did this. If you knew, I bought this newspaper from somebody in El Salvador, and I sent them Lightning. They actually weren't using the Chivo wallet, and then they mailed it to me. It works.
Yeah, the guy that I'm actually getting some too from El Salvador right now, and he's not using Chivo either.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. I mean, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? It involves trust and permissions, and that's the scaling roadmap. It excludes 1.7 billion people. Who's going to provide those Lightning nodes, and why? And how long will they exist before they get shut down?
You should totally fly down to El Salvador. There's a conference in November. You can prove it
I
for
lived
yourself.
in El Salvador. I know.
Great, go back down there. You know the way then. Bring your Lightning wallet. Do you have a Lightning wallet now? Let me send you some stats.
Why are you
Do you have a lightning
pretending,
law,
Max,
Max?
like it's an issue only for Bitcoin, that somebody might come to your house and try to turn off your? Why wouldn't somebody come and turn off your
Shitcoin.
node? That's part of it. If you are fortunate enough to have millions of people around the world running an Epic
Shitcoin.
node, which I seriously doubt,
They have 101
not
people.
be any different in that sense. The police could always come over and tell you to turn it off. I mean, that's part of the centralization. Of course, the police can come to my house right now and try to force me to turn off my Lightning node. I'm an individual. That can happen, but that's not a problem with Lightning Network. And in fact, that's one of its strengths. It's all over the place, and they can't come to all of our homes.
I really would like to know just to break up the technical talk a little bit for the audience, I would just really like to know where I could purchase Shitcoin if I wanted to right now after this stream.
You want to handle that one, Yoga?
Wait, I want to know if Jason's eating carbs.
You're muted down there.
Seems like muted.
You're muted, Yoga.
Those damn nuts. You're not going to get those veins, bro.
Oh, he's not.
Mike, where did you buy in to Shitcoin?
On the Beat Exchange. Go ahead, Max.
It's on the primary venue is a DEX called VTEX, a rinky-dink little one, but it gets the job done.
How much did you pay for
Shitcoin
Per coin.
We don't pay for listings.
Mike? Ask Mike.
Mike's an investor, right? So, Mike,
Go ahead.
How much did you buy in? And what was can we know the nominal value?
What was the cost of the coin when I got in?
The cost when you got in and what your nominal value was.
42 cents.
Okay.
How much did you spend?
That's personal.
Okay.
It's personal. I respect your question.
How much would you recommend an investor?
Hey,
you can give the disclaimer. Yeah, this is not financial advice.
No, I'm not recommending anything. You know, I really came in, like I said, when I met Max, I look at this, all I've known is Bitcoin. That's what I've been stacking for the last 5 years and some other things, but primarily Bitcoin. I've done everything that I can to promote it to everyone. And so when this came along, I was just about to ignore it, just like I had done with every other coin and every other opportunity that's come across my desk. And then the more I listened to Max, the more I had read things on my own, I went to somebody that I know, like, and trust, Jay, and said, Jay, do me a favor, have this conversation and let's see what you think. And so we had the conversation and he said, well, let me go to some people who I know, like, and trust, who know more than I do, and let's have more of a conversation. And so that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah. And the simple thing for me, Donald. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, as you've been listening to this conversation, I know that a lot of the jargon has probably flown over your head, right? Like that Dustin and JC and Max were talking about. But I don't know, I think it's pretty obvious who the more competent technical contributors are on the stage right now. Were you picking up on that? Mike, I'm worried about you getting scammed by these guys. No,
I'm not getting scammed. And listen, I appreciate your concern.
And to be honest, I've done be that well versed in the space. So I'm worried about you. Okay.
I appreciate your concern. Thank you. I've done okay in life. And so, I think I have enough to get through this one too. But with that being said, I think some of the things that Max has said make a lot of sense to me that I still have, quite frankly, I have questions about with regard to the fungibility, with regard to the privacy, with regard to the scalability, the mineability. So look, I don't know. I don't know the answers.
Mike,
shoot, Jay.
Mike, the privacy line of thinking is actually a fatal flaw. If you think that any nation state's going to allow you to operate with complete anonymity around transactions, you have lost your mind.
Yeah. Max, do you want to respond to that? I don't necessarily. Yeah, I'm with you, Jason. I hear you.
Please.
Yeah, because we had a war on poverty, and that eliminated poverty, and a war on drugs, and it got rid of those, and a war on terrorism, and it got rid of those. So I'm sure every house in Burkina Faso, they're going to go door to door and unplug people's.
No, I've been to Burkina Faso. There are no houses that have what you're talking about. What are you saying right now? If they want to shut it down, they will shut it down. You cannot, in my opinion, you're saying that you've developed a completely anonymous solution for transactions. You're saying that as one of your points.
Anonymous from whom? The powers that be can find us all kinds of ways. It's not a problem for them. Who is it a problem for?
Back to him. I think he's just trying to listen to you and say it back.
I was going to say, it's obvious that there are very few users of privacy coins. And so the FBI sits on the exits and they watch who's coming and going, right? So like, yeah, you're not going to be able to hide from a state actor using privacy tech, right? And you can get pretty good privacy using, you know, some of the Bitcoin privacy technologies like coin joins. And like, for instance, a coin join breaks. Hey, yoga person, calm down. A coin join breaks all of Chainalysis's privacy heuristics. Okay, all of their heuristics. So you know what I'm saying? You don't need to use a specific privacy coin if you want personal privacy, and you can't hide from the state. You all know that.
And who is this that are the superior technical people? Yoga, would you like to handle that?
Go ahead, Yoga.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Man, you suck at using this.
No, actually, I was.
You could just unmute it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, guys, look, you're just trolling. I mean, seriously.
Of course I am.
Oh, right.
But I didn't say anything incorrect.
Wait,
It's
I
easy
thought
to
you were
troll
going to
using
answer.
the
But you did.
I'm not
you
trolling.
did. Coin join does not
work.
Coin
ready.
join does break
I'm ready.
Chainalysis's heuristics. You would know that if you
It
paid
does.
attention to the Bitcoin space and not the shitcoin space.
So
Hands down.
we have different views on privacy. You know, Max and I. You know, the way I look at privacy is. Sorry, guys. Can I just say a couple of words and
Yeah,
then you
for
can
it.
pile on the
I'm ready.
bullshit. You know. Okay.
The bullshit.
So
You're right. You have a $5 million coin.
So-
We're
so-
bullshitting. Okay, all right, I'm ready.
And I
I'm
think
ready.
Mike might be a lot of it.
Okay. So I'm talking about reasonable expectation of privacy. I'm not talking about, you know, perfect privacy, which I don't believe exists.
There's no
Okay.
such thing. That's true.
Right. Just like you have doors on your house, just like you have curtains on your windows, you know, etc. All I'm talking about is, you know, again, I'll go back to the beginning for a second. Okay. When we realized that, you know, I tip you a coin and you can just look at the blockchain and you can see how many coins I have after that. Okay, and from that day on, you can see every transaction I'm going to make. And before that, you can see every transaction that I made. So all I'm talking about is just practical privacy. I'm not talking about, you know, like NSA level, you know, encryption or whatever.
Can you describe,
Yeah.
like, in 2 sentences
Justin.
how a coin join works? Because I'm a little confused at what you're saying right now.
Google it. You're a bright
No,
guy.
I
He doesn't know.
I
He doesn't
know
know
what
the
a coin
answer.
join
Dustin.
is.
He doesn't know the
I
answer.
don't think you do.
All I'm talking about is if you look at if you're examining
We're
the
going to need those
blockchain,
2 sentences
there's
on
no
coin joins, my guy.
yeah, there's no sender address in the blockchain. There's no receiver address in the blockchain.
That's not
And
coin
thanks to
joins.
Peterson, and thanks to Peterson commitment, there is no amount stored on the blockchain. Do you want me to walk
Okay,
you
so
through
you
on
don't
the
know what a
map from
coin
Peterson
join is. I hear you.
Sure,
You
I
don't know what a
don't
coin
know.
join is.
Listen,
I just don't want
listen.
to get. I don't want to get trolled, guys. I do know what coin
Well,
join is. That's
then
not my
say
point.
it. Say it.
Okay, exchanges block withdrawals to mixers. I can show you tweets from 2019 saying, "Hey, Binance Singapore just prohibited me from withdrawing to my Wasabi wallet." So
And
that's the
they'll
first
never
thing. The
block-
second,
They'll never block.
Shitcoin.
Yeah, they don't even support it,
Shitcoin.
but if they did, they could unsupport it. I mean, that's not a.
unsupport specific wallet addresses and services based on knowing which
like, it does not
addresses
support
are related to
There's
that.
no toxic.
So-
If you
ethics.
think they care about if you think they want to censor private transactions, they just wouldn't support. There have been places that have delisted.
But we don't care about Binance. We're built for the world where we're going, not where we used to be. These centralized exchanges are dinosaurs. They're not long for the earth. If I send BTC, if I send BTC to trade from Trade Ogre to BitBuy in Canada, they reject it and say we don't accept BTC from Trade Ogre.
So
Someone
what
may
I said
choose
you-
not to elect that to handle.
Shitcoin.
Cannot happen with this asset.
But your whole the whole thing this is why I feel like it's so dishonest, because the whole thing you just got done saying was, here's the problem with Bitcoin. They're going to censor your transactions based on your chain activity. Oh, but if they censor it,
Shitcoin.
we don't care because exchanges are dinosaurs and what they do doesn't matter.
No, the capability to censor transactions exists in BTC and it does not in
Shitcoin.
If we're talking about dishonest and shitcoins and all this, be honest with your audience. You're bringing your preconceived notions. You haven't done the homework, and you're playing fast and loose with the facts.
Why
The exchanges
of
have the
course can
ability to
whatever they
censor
want.
anything that's coming to them. What are you talking
Yes,
about?
they do.
They can just take your
Yes, they
money,
do.
and if you send them
Yes.
money, they say, "Hey, they
Exchanges
got money."
subscribe. Hold on. Exchanges subscribe to Chainalysis. Okay, and
Yeah.
the whitelist and the blacklist exist. Do you agree on that? HODL.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So, and all I'm talking about is for all
You go straight to a
practical
gambling
purposes-
site, you're going to be on their block list, right? You do a coin join
Sure.
with some of them, you're going to be on their block list. Yeah, that's
Sure.
true.
Tapper is going to make that a lot harder, by the way.
It will.
No, it's not.
Be nice.
Yeah, why not, Max?
Well, we can follow up on that after because I'm not
Max,
the most
dodging
technical
the
person here.
How come you guys?
No,
can't
I'm not.
answer
I'm
the
not
claims?
dodging
You
it.
can't
But if
back up.
someone who is an expert comments that and I don't take the time to follow up on it as I haven't, then I'm not going to talk about it. So that's a
Well, then
very
don't make the
interesting
claim.
point.
So
I'm
if
not
you're
making-
You said it
I-
doesn't. Though. You didn't say I don't
Don't
know
make-
yet. You said no, it doesn't.
I-
Say, well,
okay.
I don't know yet. Let me look
Okay.
into that.
That's a fair comment. I stand corrected. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Yeah, one of the as a tangent to this, one of the cool things is when Taproot comes out, plus the SysAg update, it'll make an incentive for every single transaction to be a coin join, and Bitcoin's going to get a hell of a lot more private than anything else that exists at that point.
Which is
Plus, I'm
awesome.
excited about.
But then
privacy
you guys,
filters
hold on.
for Lightning wallets.
But you guys talking about how if something becomes private, then governments shut it down. So your own logic here.
No, it wasn't. That
You
was just
can't-
me pointing at an inconsistency in what you're. I mean, if exchanges want to ban Bitcoin, of course they can do that. That's not something that I would say. I wouldn't say, oh,
Shitcoin.
because exchanges could ban it. I would only say that in response to you saying that it was bad about Bitcoin.
I think what might be useful.
Only thing with
Shitcoin.
doesn't suffer the tainted coin problem. Okay, that's really in a couple of words.
That's the
just doesn't
key
have the problem.
differentiator then. Is that the key
No,
differentiator?
no.
Because
It's
nobody's
one
using it for anything.
That's not accurate. and
Haircuts,
It's not true, and you
haircuts.
know it.
No, I mean, is anyone
Clearly is based on the
hold
market
on,
cap.
hold on.
It's
Is
still
anyone
going
using
up.
Epic
It's,
Shitcoin.
cocaine? And how
you
does
can't.
that?
Bitcoin is too expensive to buy Coke and too
No, it's
pri-
not.
lacking privacy to buy
Don't
Coke.
incriminate
You could buy a
yourself.
fraction
You can't buy
of
Coke.
Don't
You
Bitcoin.
can't buy
incriminate
Coke.
yourself.
It's a ridiculous statement.
So
Show
I mean,
that
that's-
shirt
this
again,
is-
Dustin.
That's kind of crazy, man.
I'm in
Yeah, you
California,
should.
guys. Okay, people shoot heroin here on the street without getting busted. So Coke is.
Yeah, but
nothing.
you're white, bro, so they're gonna take you down.
I'm tan, man. I resent that. I'm very tan.
How do the people without identity documents get onto BTC? How do we get over 1 billion users? What does their path look like?
I mean, well, if their country makes it their national currency, after they just get it from their friend.
Ah,
just
okay. So
download
we
from
need the
their
government
job.
to drive
From their
adoption.
job.
Got it.
Your
Well,
job,
of course.
jobs are run by people. Go work at the watermelon cart
Next.
in El Salvador and get paid some Bitcoin.
Government will drive utilization of
Yeah.
Bitcoin through oppression.
And by the way, guys, I do respect what Bitcoin accomplished, and it'd be stupid of me to be blind to that. Okay, and I look at how amazing it is in places like Venezuela. Okay, where it was not the most technologically forward society, where inflation forced mass adoption through necessity. They had no choice, and they made that leap. So
Happened in
Bitcoin
Nigeria, Yoga.
everywhere,
Like,
man. I totally agree.
adoption of Bitcoin in Nigeria. Is it the government's adoption of Bitcoin?
No. But that's my point. Is that I'm not being negative about it. I'm fully acknowledging it. Okay, guys. To me, Jason, reading from your book, okay, and reading from the, and listening to the early, you guys
Wait.
talk about Bitcoin being a tank. Okay, Bitcoin is this unstoppable tank, and I respect that. Okay, and Dustin, you're talking about how every time we try to do something, why not just do it on Bitcoin, right? So
Do it on
I have a-
Bitcoin, yeah.
right. So I have a Phillips screw, and I'm trying to screw it in. Okay, and instead of using
Shitcoin.
which is a Phillips screwdriver, let's say for this use case, why don't I take this tank and I adapt this tank to this particular task that it's not really well suited to? So
Yeah,
I
like,
just think
you
that
can't
there's
use a
different
modern
use
tank
cases.
because without a shitcoin, how could you build tanks? It's impossible.
It's really
So you're gonna build a
hard.
bicycle with a
No,
shitcoin attached?
you
Because
guys are trying to make Bitcoin the end all, okay? And it's not. It's awesome, but even
okay.
hold on. You're
blockchains,
talking about using it as a unit of account, but it's too expensive. Like Jason, to your point, people ask you, what's your unit of account? Like HODL asked you that on this interview just the other day, right? What's your unit of account? You're like, Bitcoin, man. Okay, and I'm reading your book, and you're talking about how, man, you got to use Bitcoin. Everybody, but then you also talk about, so you say Bitcoin is like, so you say Bitcoin is ideal money, but then on the flip side, you say, well, I'm never spending a Bitcoin. I'm hodling. I'm accumulating. How many more Bitcoins you said you want? 8 more, right? Because it's never enough. Okay, that's a hot. It's so if I'm hoarding gold, my gold is Bitcoin.
I don't mean to interrupt you because a lot of the things you said are correct. The reason that we're able to hold Bitcoin and Bitcoin is good money is because it's not being inflated away. That's why I'm using that example.
100%.
If you hold dollars, petrodollars, that doesn't work.
100%.
That's my point. So Do I use Satoshis? I don't know why we're pretending that Bitcoin's not divisible. It's really insulting.
Oh,
and
totally
stupid.
is. Yeah.
Okay. It's divisible and it's not too expensive to buy. You can buy
To
any
transact.
fraction of it. It's not even too expensive to transact. I buy NFTs on a counterparty wallet for 19 cents. So stop it. Stop
That's a lot of money in a lot of
Take
places.
a look at the mempool.
19
Take a look
cents
at
is
it.
a lot of
Come on,
money in a
guys.
lot of places.
And what you're getting is worth it, even if it were more than 19. So even if you had to pay $30 for a Lightning channel,
Guys, yeah. And
be
you know
worth
what? When Lightning came out, I played with it. Okay, and I used it, and I like the low
It's not on
transaction.
Lightning, Yoga. That's not on Lightning.
It's on chain.
That's the base chain transaction, 19 cents.
Here's the bigger issue that I see. In the 1970s, gold was going parabolic, and the futures market came in and cut it off at the knees because they could create paper gold and never have to deliver it. Today, people are just as happy to accept things that are not BTC as actual BTC, and until and unless the tide goes out, we won't see the cost of that, and so people are underpricing the risk. There's a whole host of risks that can be eliminated here, and you have that same scarcity profile that is paramount. The 21 million is what matters. There's going to be, you want to talk about stock to flow, there's going to be a 98% reduction in daily emission over the next 7 years. So, and we don't get down with all the fractional reserve stuff. So, that I think we're probably going to be able to have some answers on too. Not completely, of course, but the question is not
Shitcoin.
A better Bitcoin. It doesn't need to be. It needs to be the flux capacitor inside our DeLorean so that we can do time travel with EUSD. Tether is going to blow up. 90+% of the trading is BTC USDT. And when Tether blows up, there's going to be vulnerability.
It's
you
different.
have a better stable coin. That's not very compelling argument, I got to say.
By the way, I agree that 21 million is paramount. 21 million is non-negotiable. How are you going to know if you've had an inflation bug? Like to answer that or what?
Because we already did, and we found it, and we solved it exactly the same as BTC did in their value overflow incident in 2010, I think it was.
What happens if, like, let's say in a hypothetical future world, your project gets to, I don't know, 100 million market cap? What happens then? And you have another inflation bug, and you don't know about it.
Same thing that happened with Bitcoin.
Yeah, you immediately know about it. Everything goes haywire.
You patch it and you patch it and you move on.
Yoga person, it sounds like you used Lightning in the early days. There's a lot of OGs that did use it in the early days, saw that it was pretty dysfunctional because it was brand new, and then haven't used it in its modern form where it's very usable. Have you used it in its modern form?
No, I haven't.
Why do you say that?
Because
I'll send you some stats right now.
No, because honestly,
you should have a sense of what this stuff is, so at least you can talk about it.
Honestly, I haven't moved my Bitcoin in years, so
I'll send you some. Open up, just download my Blue Wallet.
It's okay. I have some. I still have some.
Well, you haven't used Lightning. If you're building a thing that competes with Lightning, and it depends on all this Lightning FUD making sense,
guys, I'm not competing.
We're not competing with Lightning, and that's why I said that we should frame this the appropriate way, because this whole experience has gone the wrong way from start to finish. We're not here to have a debate or sell anybody. We're doing our thing, and you guys have your thing, and if you don't like it, that's cool.
Max, why do you have your thing? Why is there a need for your thing?
Because not everybody today can mine, Jay, because not everybody today can get their Bitcoin. They can't mine Bitcoin.
I'm offering to send you some
at home.
Go to the App Store, search Blue Wallet, and send me an invoice for like $10. I'll give it to you right now.
No, I'm not talking about that, and I'm not looking for money. I'm okay with money. But Jay, my point is, those people who, like you guys were those people, okay, when Bitcoin was still inexpensive and it was still achievable and it was still, for the common man, like you guys talk about normies and plebes or whatever.
Yeah, I buy Bitcoin every day.
You guys are badass.
I just want to say something.
Badass. I'm talking about people today with gaming rigs, okay? People today with laptops who'd love the pleasure of cracking their own block, okay? Of finding their
why
own
is that important? Like, this isn't about speculation of mining it for what?
It's Shitcoin.
Cool, man.
That'll go away with
Shitcoin
if it ever got big, which it won't. But here's the thing that I want to say to Mike in particular here, because the real game when it comes to you're not looking for a new currency when you're looking at buying
Shitcoin.
Saying, I need a new way to transact, more with less fungibility, whatever. You're not. That's not what you're looking at. You're looking at, oh, maybe I can get into this as an investment, hold it for a while, maybe the number will go up, I can get back out into whatever other asset I value more and make a return. And when you're analyzing, when you're looking at various shitcoins for that purpose, the only thing that really matters, the technology doesn't really matter. All the 1, 2, 3 that Jay said, to me, that doesn't even matter. The only thing that really matters if you're going to play that game is there hype? Are there people that are going to buy after me? When we look at
Shitcoin.
I've not seen a single
Shitcoin.
the Twitter thread, not a single guy from the community other than you both saying, hey, Epic Cash, and putting like a link or two. There's nobody there. This is a completely...
And how about that? We got to 101 countries, and none of them are run by us, by the way. How about that? We achieved that with no shilling.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. We consider that a feature, not a bug. We consider that a feature.
Because you want number go up in some kind of, even in like a gambling way, this would be a really bad bet.
We want censorship resistance. You want to talk about hard money that people can't fuck with? This is harder in multiple ways, and it can't be fucked with in many ways that BTC can. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
you.
Not that simple at all.
Listen, guys, you showed up here to get your ass kicked for You showed up here to get your ass kicked for marketing. You did get your ass kicked, and you got the marketing, so it worked out.
Time out, HODL. This was not. Hold on. Time out.
Shitcoin.
Did I use it and I buy tacos? Like you couldn't get 3 guys to tweet. Like,
there are so many things that are said here that are based on
marketing. Nobody knows who the fuck you are.
Things that are not. Hold on, I want to make something clear for Max and for Yoga. This wasn't set up as a marketing ploy. The original request was to have a call with Jay, and if Jay wanted to get some people onto a call with Max, then we can make that happen. And then the suggestion was made to Max. Let's put it on a podcast. Let's have it. There was never a request by anyone from Epic, either of those guys here, to say, hey, let's go on and market this. I want to make that clear because that's the truth. And everybody here should know that. This wasn't a marketing play at all.
And I specifically said, when you said Bitcoin versus Shitcoin, don't frame it that. So, like, this is
well, no,
this is not a marketing exercise, and we got blindsided.
Everybody stop. Wait. Everybody stop. It is Bitcoin versus Shitcoin. Bitcoin exists in the market as $1 trillion market cap, and you're trying to compete with that, and you can say you're not, but it is a money that you're trying to create that is going against a money that exists. So it is Bitcoin versus Shitcoin.
Going against it because there's use cases that can't be served by that one that are blue ocean.
But that's the part that we all disagree with, because there's a second layer to Bitcoin that you're ignoring and saying, nope. The problem with the second layer is
people will give up permissionlessness and trustlessness and decentralization. If those are acceptable trade-offs, then maybe you're right. We don't think so. We like original Bitcoin.
And you're talking over me, so if you just let me, I haven't talked for like, what is this, fucking an hour and 20 minutes? I haven't really said much, right? So if you don't mind, you are trying to compete with Bitcoin, and you're trying to say that the second layer requires trust, right? And that there is a security issue, essentially, is what you're basically saying. Privacy issue. And so you're comparing it to Bitcoin when you make that statement, and then you're saying, I'm not competing with Bitcoin. I don't know. That doesn't seem consistent to me.
Well, it's competitive.
The way to say it is, you guys are
your dollars go. Listen, very simple. Very simple. I look in my bank account, the fiat money that I have, and it's a zero-sum game, brother. It's either going into your coin, it's going into an investment, it's going to real estate, it's going to commodities, or it's going into Bitcoin. So to say it's not competition is absolutely ridiculous. Money is zero-sum. It's going somewhere.
Well, that's the money use case. What about the currency use case?
It's still your money. You have to put money into it to have the
money
currency.
and currency are different things. We're talking about the currency use case, which
Let's
is underserved.
be really clear. I have to put my real money into your coin to buy it, to use the currency of your coin.
Don't.
Is that correct?
You can
mine
so
you're just going to give it to me for free, guys?
You can mine it.
I'll start using it.
You can mine it.
Jay,
you can mine it for now.
By 2024, there's going to be 20 million of them mined. Is that correct? You guys are catching up? Is that what you said?
2028.
2028. Okay. So how many are mined currently?
13 million.
And so you're going to have a catch up until 2028?
Mm-hmm. Right. There's 3 halvings and then a final 85%.
Who owns them?
The supply started at 0. There was no pre-mine.
Thousands of users.
It doesn't matter if there's a pre-mine. There are people out there mining it, and I could understand why you're keeping the marketing quiet.
There are thousands of people mining.
You guys see why the marketing's so quiet?
Even Satoshi.
Somebody's mining this shit. Who's it? I mean, you're going to have a Satoshi that's 10x. There's going to be a person with 5 million.
Here's a simple question. I think that's important. The DAO that exists now, What is the makeup of the DAO? How much are the guys like you, Max?
We just started it. we haven't even gotten started yet. We just created the token. We're just getting started. We've all been volunteers.
All right,
so we need the DAO to organize around the stablecoin stuff. There is no direct relationship where there's a vulnerability on Epic due to some DAO.
How many miners are there currently? How many miners are there? How many nodes out there? How many is there?
Tell
me what the distribution is currently.
A couple of thousand miners currently, about 2,500 or so.
And of them, can you see how many are mining what? Can you see the addresses and see who's accumulating? Can you look through?
No, it's a private coin. You can't.
Right. You can't say. Okay. So there's a potential. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. There is a potential.
101 countries.
There is a potential centralization issue within your coin. Would you not say?
How so?
You don't even know who owns it all.
Well,
you could be centralized in terms of ownership. No, there's a concentration risk.
You can look at the hash rate back since the beginning of the network and see that wasn't the case.
Well, I don't know. You could have 100 miners out there for all we know. It could be all you right now.
No, there's thousands of miners.
Well, you could have all 1,000 of them, right?
No. But Jay,
we don't, and you can go and talk to them.
Jay, we pulled the data. Let's say for the last 6 months, okay, and there's roughly 4,400 unique miners, okay, in that time frame, geographically distributed to about 101 countries, okay. So that's kind of the makeup of our project, okay. And in terms of hash, we don't really, there's some guys who who obviously have bigger farms than other guys, but looking at the hash distribution and just feedback from the community, we have a pretty good. We don't have whales. We don't have so the crypto is pretty well distributed between people. And then we also put in mechanisms in place to try and encourage community to create use cases so people can tip each other with Shitcoin and promote Shitcoin mass adoption through use. So that's kind of our use case.
There's a more simple attack vector here, or I guess proof of centralization. The DAO doesn't exist yet, right? But you said that when it does, it will have control over the mining distribution. According to the website, this already has happened, but you're telling me it doesn't exist yet. But so either way, there's this group that doesn't exist yet that you're going to create, that you're going to give the power to literally control over who can mine and who can't.
No, stop right there. No? That's not what we said. No, not at all.
Okay, then how do you make it
Yoga, would you respond to that, please?
No, man. Sorry. No, Max. Go ahead. You're better suited.
That's not how it works at all.
Go ahead and tell me how you make it.
It's a fair launch. Anybody can go to github.com/Shitcoin and start mining. We announced 5 months ahead and screamed it from the rooftops. That's the only promotion we ever did.
Right, but that's the question. You brag about having ASIC resistance, which is why everybody can do it on their cell phone. That only works if you can, of course, change and respond to changes in the hash and who's hashing and the kind of people hashing.
Which it
even
does.
says on your website that you do it, that you've gated by distribution.
Let me tell you how that works. Yes. So there's 1,440 blocks per day, which is 10x the number of BTC. It's 1 per minute rather than 1 per 10 minutes. It resets every approximately 2 hours, or really it's 100 blocks. So versus the 2 weeks, it adjusts the difficulty of each algorithm independently for that algorithm only. So to resist centralization, we use RandomX, which is CPU targeted. There's only 15% advantage if you did spin up an ASIC. It wouldn't be commercially viable. So RandomX, we think, has legs, ProgPow on the GPU.
Okay.
And there's...
but more interesting, so I get that now. Mm-hmm. More interesting than that, though, is you claim that you'll be able to change that distribution through the DAO. It's one of the things you advertise as the point of the DAO. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So the DAO has the power to affect who can mine and who can't, or at least what the rewards will be. But this DAO doesn't exist yet, also, at least that's what you said. So you're going to be adding the power to do something that I think is pretty significant that doesn't exist yet. You can't do that on a coin that's not central.
No.
Changing the rules in a very fundamental way.
No, we have already addressed this. We successfully, from era 1 to era 2, decided that what was specified in the white paper, which is what the code says and will not change unless we as a community decide to change it. So we got together and figured out that for where we wanted to go, it would be appropriate to do it a certain way. Incidentally, more CPU and more GPU. It is. We are now putting in place. The token was launched July 4th. It just hasn't been distributed widely yet, which is why I say it doesn't exist. But there's 150 people that have donated their time for years in many cases, and now we're formalizing that at the DAO level, and now we can make decisions in a transparent way using the voting contracts that are out there used by hundreds of projects.
I love that people are volunteering their time. I just wish it was to doing something more useful, like on Bitcoin. Like,
well, let me tell you why that doesn't happen. Would you like to know why that doesn't happen?
It does happen. There are
Let's do it.
tens of thousands, hundreds of people that donate a ton of Bitcoin.
Like all you did is port Grin and then like change some constants. Now you're gonna add some governance. Whatever.
Yeah, all Michael Dell did was innovate around distribution.
What I'm saying
so he was deriding
too. Volunteering. If you're truly volunteering, drop the token. Drop the get rich scheme.
It's not a token. It's a coin.
Whatever. Doesn't matter what it's called. Do it on Bitcoin. If you're volunteering your time, actually volunteer.
Yeah, why aren't you contributing?
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Okay. I'll tell you why. It's because of the culture that we're experiencing right here. I was at the Jimmy Song conference. I was at the Jimmy Song Unconfiscatable conference and said, hey guys, what are we going to do about fungibility? And the answer was, fuck off. We got this. So, if you have all the answers, good for you. We're going to do it this way.
No one needs permission to work on layer 2. You can just do it.
You guys talk about distribution. How great wealth is held by very few people. Bitcoin being a good example of that. Here, we're looking at some OGs here, who are loaded up with Bitcoin, and they're very, very protective of their nest egg. Are you an OG that's loaded up with
Bitcoin? Is that you?
Am I an OG?
You ran for 11.
No, I'm a scrub, man. Yeah.
I think a lot of people who are early in Bitcoin get this like BDS syndrome, Bitcoin derangement syndrome, where they could have got Bitcoin early on. They didn't get it, and now they want to recreate that moment they missed by creating a new Bitcoin. I think it's a really common thing, and the only solution is just humility. You got to accept the fact that you missed it. It's fine. I missed it too. I knew about Bitcoin 2011.
Yeah, nobody missed it. That's a lot of assumptions wrapped up there.
Not everybody.
Great to have facts.
Guys, not everybody is as awesome.
What do you think? Okay, which coin's Gini coefficient do you think is worse?
Hey, JC,
which coin's Gini coefficient is worse? Bitcoin or shitcoin?
JC, how do I get one of those frogs?
After 2 years versus 12?
No one knows about
after 2 years versus 12
project. It's all inside.
And hence why we're willing to engage here with you
guys. It's really simple. Okay,
I know for marketing. We
can look at it a year from now.
No, not for marketing, because BTC doesn't have answers for this.
Yes, we do.
We're bringing fresh solutions, and you're shitting all over it, and it's not cool.
Copying Grin. Copying.
You don't have any.
No, we're not. This is open source.
Right.
This is open source.
You are copying. You're not doing anything unethical like copying necessarily, but you're copying.
Okay. We don't think. Okay, this is not productive. Go ahead, Yoga. Sorry to speak over you.
It is productive, actually.
No,
I haven't heard an answer to just very basic questions I've asked. I haven't heard any answers. I'm interested in them.
Dustin's commentary was, "Why don't you come and work for us?" Essentially, that's what that means. Well, because we have our own thing. So
because you want to get rich out of it. But Max used the word volunteer. That's what triggered me. I was like, oh, okay,
we have been volunteers, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now we're commercializing against the other stablecoin projects.
You created a coin that you have seigniorage on. You're hardly a volunteer.
No, we don't have seigniorage on it.
Stablecoins are even harder to do without any network effect. This is why would anybody want to use a stablecoin that nobody uses? It's very they don't have any upside and they have all the downside.
Jason, I'm sorry. If some of your questions got unanswered, if you want to ask me a question, I will 100% genuinely answer it. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. I mean, Yoga, again, I'm going to ask this, and I know Jay may be wanting to wrap this up, but why wouldn't any innovation that you bring forth be immediately adopted to a layer 2 solution at Bitcoin? And I'm fearful that you don't know the answer to it is because you haven't used it. You just think it's like a wasteland or something not real.
No.
But that's my question.
Okay, let me answer just how I see it, and Max may
Because
have
that's what happened with Taproot, as I understand it.
right. So part of the reason I think is that whatever we do with
Shitcoin.
is going to have a bigger multiplier effect in a
Shitcoin
ecosystem rather than in the Bitcoin ecosystem as a layer 2. I think the argument that you used when you were pitching Bitcoin against Gould, when you said that
Shitcoin.
that Bitcoin is more likely to go 10x than Gold, was a compelling and a very solid argument. And my argument is that at 40 cents or 50 cents, wherever the hell we are, our innovation will be a better multiplier yield than Bitcoin using the same logic. Because I think that at 40K or 48K, or wherever Bitcoin stands right now, incremental improvement to something that is 10-year-old tech is not going to give that same 10x, 100x, or whatever that you would get on a relative unknown $5 million cap project. So that's that. And the people that'll benefit are not the people who are already loaded with profound amount of Bitcoin, but the people who are no coiners, okay, who are crypto noobs, the same people that were, just discovering Bitcoin 10 years ago. Those are the same people discovering crypto today, and they're actually able to mine it and bring it out of the system for themselves and experience it.
It sounds like you're describing the Cantillon River effect, and you want to redirect it. Are you familiar with that phrase, Cantillon River?
Yeah, but let's not conjecturize here, okay? Because you have a preconceived
It's an
notion
economic
that you're
phrase
trying to
that goes back 100 years.
Right, yeah, procrastic is, look, I'm a reasonably educated guy. I was born in the Soviet Union, so I'm not dazzled by censorship. I'm not dazzled by trolls. I'm not dazzled by a lot, really. I'm a pretty jaded guy, okay?
It sounds like you're talking about the Cantillon effect.
And your intellect is staggering. And by the way, HODL,
well, thank you.
I fucking love your intellect, okay? I watch you. I watch you discuss things. I'm not dodging anything. You're trying to what? What are you trying to say?
I appreciate the compliments. It's nicer than the critiques from ad hominem before, but it's still ad hominem, right? It's irrelevant who we are, what we think. It sounds like what you're describing is changing the Cantillon effect. The Cantillon effect is where people that are higher up to the money printer get more access to stuff. And it sounds like what you're saying is you don't like the Cantillon effect that on Bitcoin. You want to recreate your own where the people that you prefer get rich off it.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Because the number of people that can get rich off of Epic is orders of magnitude greater
I don't even know what
than on BTC.
Is named after, but anyway.
And it's Cantillon, by the way.
Something I've heard.
Yeah, dude was French.
I say Cantillon.
It's croissant, but I say
Cantillon.
Max and Yoga, I've heard from both of you talk about new users to your coin can enjoy the experiential quality of mining, and that's a reason to get in, right?
That's one of them. Yeah.
And I said why, and you said because it's fun.
Who gives a fuck about that? I want the most security. I want the most security for my coin. I don't care if newbies can mine it.
Right.
I'm going to use that.
Those are your preferences.
From here till New York.
My preferences for security of a global money. Yeah, those are my preferences. If I'm building a space shuttle, I want it to get to space. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's preference.
Right, and
I love
it.
And
Yoga,
this is awesome, man.
Excuse me. So Yoga, the market has responded.
The market doesn't like Lightning. It likes to put its BTC on Ethereum.
Guys,
there's 100x more BTC on Ethereum than on Lightning. So
Max, don't go there. Max, don't go there.
One sec, guys. Wait, one sec. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, so you just said the market doesn't like Lightning. That's a stupid statement. I'm saying that the market hasn't chosen your coin. You have a $5 million market cap. You have no users. You have no social media influence whatsoever. It is like a ghost town's ghost town. Now, if this was some type of innovation, I keep saying this, it would be adopted in a bigger market cap situation on Bitcoin. Or Twitter would have used you as a payment rail in their UI UX application of, let's tip on, let's test this out and let's use your program to tip on Twitter. You don't think that's a big deal?
No. I don't.
I take issue with your mischaracterization of where we are, because it's not a ghost town's ghost town. There's thousands of people that care about the story.
Jason, do me a favor.
No one having sex.
Jason,
there's
buy
no
all of the
beer,
tokens
there's
right now and burn them.
I'm not getting boyfriends. I'm sorry.
I mean, Max, think about it like this. Like, even if you do have people that care about your project, they don't have enough conviction in it to put some skin in the game. You have an incredibly low market cap.
They're putting skin in the game as much as they can. It's a growing project.
No, stop it. That's a pathetic market cap. Okay, you should be embarrassed.
There's no real money in it.
You should be embarrassed to come on the show with that market cap.
Yeah, well, we're sorry we didn't meet up to your standards. I guess we'll hang it up then.
I mean, it's like,
if you guys are hiring, let me know. I'll send my resume in.
No, Max. I mean, you thoroughly.
But we can look at it a year later.
Even a little bit.
We'll check back a year later.
And I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not even trying to attack you. I'm sorry that I'm so blunt, but you're like on the level of like a normal Twitter guy that doesn't even know the space yet, and somehow you've managed to start your own coin. This does not bode well for anybody.
Oh, really? You know what?
Sorry,
JC.
Okay.
JC, I'm sorry, man, but out of all of these, like HODL is being HODL, okay, Jason is being Jason. You came in with a whole bunch of conjecture and inaccurate technical information. I mean, Dustin.
Inaccurate technical information. Would you like to be specific?
Dustin,
you got to be specific if you say that.
We don't have another hour here. But Dustin was actually right on the money.
Quick. JC's the technically smartest person on this stage, probably.
Okay. Dustin is, but
representing Bitcoin, yes. Dustin is actually, I thought, was a little more.
I mean, I'm just saying, Dustin and JC. We brought
Dustin's like, yo, HODL, fuck you, man.
No, I'm just saying, we brought an all-star technical crowd here. These guys are fucking on another level. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just used to kind of explaining to the non-engineers the engineering stuff, but Dustin is a real engineer.
Yeah, clearly.
There's 21 million units of scarcity here. They're mineable by certain groups of people. The investment characteristics are favorable for those of us here. If nobody that ever listens to you guys, or you yourself, don't ever care about it and never think about it again, that is totally fine. We have a good thing going that we're happy with, and we thank you for the opportunity to tell you about it here today. Should we wrap it?
Yeah, we can wrap it. I'll go first with closing comments. Max, I just want to say I will remember it because I'm gonna make a lot of jokes about getting my haircut with Shitcoin. So thank you for that.
Go ahead, Dustin.
I mean, I think that I think Grin has some cool tech in it, and I think one day it'll be on layer 2. You've copied Grin, you changed some constants. You talk a lot about controlled supply. To me, these are all Cantillon effect stuff. That seems to be the bulk of what you're interested in. The bulk of what you've done with Grin is you can control the Cantillon effect, make it go to better things, maybe a donation in Africa or whatever. I think those things sound great, but in the long run, you need a money that's controlled by nobody. And that's what Bitcoin creates. So I really encourage you guys use the word volunteer a lot, to go put this volunteer energy onto a layer 2 on Bitcoin. There's a need to port over Grin stuff. I think it's half done. Blockstream's done a lot. Monero's already on layer 2. We could use Grin too. I think it's a great idea. The other thing I would say is dude, if you're gonna drop FUD against Lightning and CoinJoins, learn what they are. Use them. The offer's still open. If you download Blue Wallet or Breeze, I'll totally send both of you guys, all three of you guys, whoever, $10. Let's do it.
That's a very generous offer, but we are happy with anonymous P2P electronic cash that can be mined by people at home. So that's the currency that we're into.
So weird.
Yeah.
Mike. With 1 sec, JC. Let Mike go, and then you're gonna go.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Thanks for setting this up. I appreciate all of you guys and the insight. So hopefully we can find a way to win together, or not, but at least everybody wins the way that they want to. And I appreciate all of you. Thanks.
Got Jason.
Yeah. What I see with Epic here, unfortunately, and I do see occasionally, even though I don't respect the fundamentals of other coins, sometimes I see founders that I think at least are giving a good effort and seem passionate and seem honest. And this is not what I'm seeing. This coin in particular, unfortunately, it's one of the cliche that you see so many of. We've heard all kinds of talking points that have been debunked thousands of times, the same points. I don't know how everybody says the same exact misinformation, but that's got to tell you something there. When you do hear that, we're hearing the same kinds of, it says on the website that Bitcoin can't be used as a unit of exchange or medium of exchange, or unit of account, but that Epic can. There's nothing fundamentally different about it that way, unless you want to. I mean, it's all a bunch of twisting and kind of. It's very manipulative to me. I don't like it. It feels so dirty. Technically, we're talking about something that thinks it's going to scale with 128 megabytes worth of blocks every minute, every 15 seconds. It's going to settle this. That's huge, especially when you're talking about wanting people to be able to run on their phone. I mean, the whole thing just it's more pie in the sky. It's one of the things I hate the most about these kinds of alt projects. You know, there are some, like I said, that sometimes are making a go at least doing something interesting. This one is not one of those, unfortunately, for me.
Yogo, go ahead.
First of all, gentlemen, I do appreciate all of your feedback very much. It was not surprising. It was very pointed. It was a very valuable lesson for us. And I'll only say one thing, you know, let the markets decide.
They have.
It's an evolving situation.
Jason, go ahead, man.
Yeah, look, I joined this call because it was more of a due diligence call and a favor to Jay. And I think Mike asked Jay to look at this business, and I've deployed hundreds of millions of dollars and run $1 billion+ fund. And I'm listening to you guys as an investor. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to dick around or take shots at you guys. And what I've seen right here is not an investable thesis. There's nothing new that you've presented. And, you know, I've invested in everything in the space, like name a company, and I'm on the cap table. And, you know, I'm very loose with that. And even HODL and I go nose to nose about my approach to technology, which is a bit agnostic. It's not Bitcoin maximalist. I look at this stuff. I'm scared for you. My suggestion to Jay is do not place capital in this business. And Mike, you've already done it. So, you know, there's nothing I can say about that. There's nothing here that I would invest in. And I invest in everything.
Bitcoin Money Maximalist, Jason.
Yeah, by the way, to that point that Jay made at the beginning of the show about me being convinced and buying some Bitcoin,